Arirang News. The South Korean government stands firm on the medical reform, saying the key point of it is people being able to get necessary medical services wherever they live. Meanwhile, despite some medical professors being off today, there was no major service shortfall. The White House says Russia has been shipping refined petroleum to North Korea at levels that go beyond UN Security Council limits. The U.S., along with South Korea and others, have signaled new sanctions in response. In the lead-up to the 2024 Paris Olympics, the Cultural Olympiad is in full swing, celebrating the sporting spectacle. In the spotlight is the Korea Season project, including the breakdance showdown, ahead of its much-anticipated debut at the Games. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with the ongoing medical dispute between the government and the doctors. Government officials stressed the importance of healthcare reform, saying essential medical care should be available nationwide. Meanwhile, despite some medical professors being off today, there was no major service shortfall. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
The government reiterated on Friday that the key point of medical reform is to make sure everyone can get essential medical care no matter where they live. During a briefing, Interior Minister Lee Sang-min said the government will increase financial support given to specialized hospitals that treat severely ill patients to the same level as top-tier general hospitals. Additionally, he added that the government will foster specialized hospitals in essential medical areas such as cardiology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. The same day, the Ministry of Health also thanked medical staff working to cover for absent doctors, adding that only a few trainee doctors were returning to their hospitals. The ministry said it would increase spending on hospitals in 2025 to meet all of the healthcare sector's needs.
To develop local infrastructure in the healthcare field, it's been suggested that more investment will be necessary from the national budget, apart from health insurance. So the government will seek to ensure the next year budget supports healthcare needs.
Meanwhile, medical professors at Seoul Asan Hospital and Seoul St. Mary's Hospital, two of the so-called Big Five hospitals in the capital region, did not work on Friday as part of the one-day-a-week halting of medical services being conducted by all such professors, allegedly due to fatigue. However, emergency and critical care services were not expected to be affected. Both hospitals said the one-day halting of services is being carried out based on individual choice. No massive medical gaps have been reported so far. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
The recent development in inflation is prompting the authorities to find ways to deal with higher prices. Their focus is on tamping down prices for agricultural and fishery goods, as well as oil products. Our Park Chan-dae has the details.
The government has come up with ways to cope with the ongoing issue of soaring consumer prices, especially for agricultural, fishery, and oil products. An economic meeting participated in by the President's Secretary for Economy and Finance, officials from the Finance, Industry, Agriculture, and Fisheries Ministries, and the Fair Trade Commission was held to discuss related issues on Friday. This was primarily due to the Consumer Price Index released by Statistics Korea the day before that showed prices had risen by 2.9% year-on-year in April. The officials discussed ways to control price rises to stay within the 2% range, which they announced after the meeting. These included releasing around 100 tons each of Napa cabbages and radishes daily from government storage facilities, along with storing around 2,000 tons of squid to prepare for any instability in supply and demand. Applying quota tariffs on dried seaweed was another measure. The government asked for close cooperation between related agencies that are part of the newly launched task force to address people's livelihoods and inflation, and coming up with ways to stabilize the price of key items, and solve structural issues such as the distribution procedures. Participants agreed to strengthen efforts to manage prices and supply and demand by item amid global uncertainties such as volatile oil prices and climate change. Also on Friday, the industry ministry discussed ways to stabilize oil prices with representatives of the oil industry, including major Korean oil refining firms such as SK Energy and S-Oil. The ministry said it would work as a team with the industry to stabilize oil prices, and the representatives pledged to do their best to prevent these from rising. The ministry added it would monitor global trends in the oil sector and inspect reserves and facilities to rapidly respond to any emergency. Park Chan-dae, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly, the ruling and opposition parties have tapped their new heads to lead them through the opening of the new assembly set for May 30th, with much work ahead. Our political correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
On Friday, the two main parties in the National Assembly selected new heads to lead them in the upcoming 22nd National Assembly. The ruling People Power Party chose Hwang Woo-yeo, a party advisor and former 5-term lawmaker, as its interim emergency committee leader. Hwang's main role is to guide the party through its national convention, expected in around 2 months when new leaders will be elected. His experience as a former party leader of the Saenuri Party, the predecessor of the PPP, and a former deputy prime minister is expected to help strengthen the party's identity after its recent loss in April's general election.
When salt loses its taste, it becomes useless and is thrown away. We, the People Power Party, will solidify our identity as a conservative party.
Hwang urged the party's lawmakers to prioritize the party over their own individual issues so the PPP can, quote, recapture its glory. He also encouraged the two main rival parties to listen closely to each other so that they can cooperate harmoniously. Meanwhile, the main opposition Democratic Party elected Park Chan-dae as its new floor leader. While the exact number of votes within the party was not disclosed, Park is believed to have garnered a majority with no dissenting voices as the sole candidate. In his inaugural speech, Park spoke of plans to reform the National Assembly.
I will run tirelessly with all my strength so that the 22nd National Assembly can become one that works and reforms. I will work every minute of my time to make the Democratic Party of Korea stronger.
Park said the people have given the DP the responsibility to carry out reforms when they voted to give it majority status in the new assembly. A certified public accountant, Park said he will lead the party in tackling issues concerning people's livelihoods. Under his leadership, the party is also expected to push for bills previously vetoed by President Yoon, including the Grain Management and Nursing Acts. In the coming weeks, the PPP's Hwang will be responsible for creating the party's emergency steering committee following the election of a new floor leader, while the DP's Park will work to place party lawmakers in positions to lead the Assembly's legislation and steering committees. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
In light of Parents' Day coming up on May 8th, President Yoon has pledged to raise the monthly senior basic pension benefits payment to a maximum of 400,000 Korean won, which is about $290 before the end of his term. The current maximum is about $245 a month. This came as he participated in the official Parents' Day ceremony in Seoul on Friday and became the first president to do so. He also expressed his admiration for the parents and thanked them for their dedication, saying that everything Korea enjoys today is due to their sweat and tears. 1,300 people took part in the event, from civilian senior organization personnel as well as recipients of merit in practicing filial piety. The White House says Russia has been shipping refined petroleum to North Korea at levels that go beyond UN Security Council limits. The U.S., along with South Korea and the others, have signaled new sanctions in response. Shin Se-byuk explains.
White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said Thursday that Russia is shipping refined petroleum to North Korea in amounts exceeding the UN Security Council limits. According to a UN Security Council resolution, North Korea's annual refined oil imports should not exceed 500,000 barrels. However, in March alone, a third of that limit was delivered to North Korea.
In March alone, Russia shipped more than 165,000 barrels of refined petroleum to the DPRK. Given the close proximity of Russian and North Korean commercial ports, Russia could sustain these shipments indefinitely.
The White House also said that Russia has sent more than the annual cap already this year, a move that highlights the close ties between Pyongyang and Moscow. It also suggested that this is likely in exchange for North Korea supplying Russia with ballistic missiles and other military equipment. In response, the U.S., along with South Korea, Japan, and the European Union, are planning to announce new sanctions targeting arms and oil trade between North Korea and Russia.
We are currently working with our partners, including Australia, the European Union, Japan, New Zealand, the Republic of Korea, and the United Kingdom to announce new coordinated sanctions designations this month.
Washington also pointed out that it was Russian opposition that led to the shutting down of a UN panel of experts overseeing sanctions against North Korea. On March 28th, Russia vetoed the annual renewal of the UN panel, thereby dismantling a key surveillance mechanism. Since then, South Korea, the U.S., and Japan have been exploring ways to create an independent body to replace the panel and are considering joint sanctions against Pyongyang and Moscow that could be enforced without a UN Security Council resolution. 신세벽, Arirang News.
Russia is rushing towards more Ukrainian territory, reportedly securing the eastern village of Verdich on Thursday. To fight back, Ukraine is expecting F-16 jets to come soon, while other Western allies such as the UK and France keep showing their support to Ukraine. Kim Bo-kyung gives us the latest.
Russia is gaining more ground in eastern Ukraine. According to Russia's defense ministry on Thursday, its forces have secured the settlement of Berdichi, about 12 kilometers northwest of Avdiivka in Donetsk. The advance into this territory follows Ukrainian soldiers retreating from the village, as well as two others nearby over the weekend. Moscow's rushing to claim as much Ukrainian territory as possible comes ahead of the arrival of U.S. weapons and equipment to Kyiv's forces after the recent passage of a military aid package in U.S. Congress. Against Russia's continuing offensives, Ukraine is hoping to turn the tide with the first batch of F-16 jets due to arrive. According to the Ukrainian Air Force spokesperson, the first batch might arrive after Orthodox Easter on Sunday, May 5th. However, he provided no further details on the dates, adding this is a question for the highest military political leadership. Until now, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, and Belgium have pledged F-16s to Ukraine, but delivery has been delayed multiple times, with the most recent reports saying it would be within the second quarter of this year. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Western allies are showing continuous support for Kyiv. British Foreign Secretary David Cameron on Thursday promised around $3.74 billion of annual military aid for Ukraine for as long as it takes. Such remarks came during his visit to Kyiv, where he pledged the UK's largest aid package to Ukraine so far. Cameron also elaborated on Ukraine's right to use weapons to do what it wants, even including striking inside Russia.
In terms of what the Ukrainians do, in our view, it is their decision about how to use these weapons. They're defending their country. They were illegally invaded by Putin, and they must take those steps. We don't discuss any caveats that we put on those things.
Adding on to the UK's pledge, French President Emmanuel Macron, too, mentioned the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine. Though he said there is no consensus yet between Kyiv and Paris on this issue, he underlined that France would have to, in any case, ask itself a question of sending troops if Russian troops broke through the front line. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
An Iraqi militant group says it is behind the aerial assaults on 3 target sites in Israel, adding that the offensive seeks to share its, quote, solidarity with the people of Gaza. Yoon reports.
2 statements from the Islamic resistance in Iraq appeared online on Thursday night, where the militant group claimed it launched cruise missiles towards Tel Aviv and Beersheba earlier on the same day. The statement said that the attacks were carried out in solidarity with the people of Gaza and pledged to persist in targeting the enemy's strongholds. A source from the Iran-backed Shiite militia said the attack was carried out with multiple Arqub-type cruise missiles. There were no alerts activated or reports of entry of projectiles from Iraq. In the more than 6 months of the Israel-Hamas war, the Islamic resistance in Iraq has periodically claimed to have launched dozens of missiles and drone attacks targeting Israeli and U.S. bases in the region. However, according to reports, only a few projectiles actually entered Israel from the direction of Iraq. Yoon, Arirang News.
Israel and Hamas may finally be closing in on a ceasefire deal that would also allow for the release of Israeli hostages. This comes as a senior Hamas official has positively assessed the recent negotiations and will be sending a delegation to Cairo to potentially finalize an agreement. Lee Seung-jae has more.
It's been months since a temporary ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas in November last year saw the release of 105 civilians taken hostage by Hamas. However, since then, talks of ceasefire and hostage release have been stuck in limbo, with the 2 sides unable to iron out important details. That could all change over the next few days as Hamas has decided to send a delegation to Cairo to potentially finalize another ceasefire agreement. According to Reuters, senior Hamas officials have reviewed the deal and given a positive assessment. While specific contents of Israel's proposal have not been made public, the Wall Street Journal reported that once an Israeli hostage-Palestinian detainee exchange is concluded, it would be followed by a 10-week ceasefire. This would also be followed by more negotiations for a truce deal. An Israeli official also told the Times of Israel that Israel has made major concessions for the agreement and that an agreement between the 2 sides would mean a 10-week ceasefire, release of 33 hostages, and would allow residents of northern Gaza to return home safely. However, a Hamas spokesperson warned that an offensive in Rafah would halt any negotiation talks. This could be a problem, as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated on Thursday that the military will begin an operation against Hamas in Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah. He emphasized that Israel will do what it can to win the war, another sign that the military will carry out the attacks no matter. The Prime Minister is set to take part in meetings with Israel's War Cabinet and the National Security Cabinet on Thursday as they await Hamas's response to the proposed ceasefire deal. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
China has, for the first time in history, launched an unmanned spacecraft to bring back samples from the far side of the moon. The Chang'e 6 probe took off on a Long March 5 rocket from the Wenchang Space Launch Center in South China's Hainan Island on Friday at 5:27 p.m. local time. Its task during the 53-day mission is to retrieve 2 kilograms of soil and rock from the side of the moon that permanently faces away from Earth. This is to be followed up by the uncrewed Chang'e 7 and 8 missions in the coming years to explore the moon as part of China's ambitious space program. With less than 3 months to go until the 2024 Paris Olympics, anticipation is mounting in the French capital. As the world gets ready for this sports and cultural extravaganza, Korea is among those that are taking center stage to showcase its vibrant culture through the annual Korea Season project. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports from Paris on the opening night.
Paris, after a century-long wait, will once again host the Olympics. Many say that the Paris Games will be a celebration of culture, reflecting the city's rich tapestry of art and deep appreciation of its heritage. Drawing attention in the build-up to the Games is the Cultural Olympiad, a cultural program that'll offer around 60,000 events until the Paralympics conclude. Among them is this dance showdown at the Théâtre du Châtelet in the heart of Paris. It's a clash of titans. Korea's 1 Million and France's Pokemon crew are battling it out on the dance floor. This is Urban Pulse Uprising, the opening event of the 2024 Korea season, officially recognized under the Cultural Olympiad label by the Paris 2024 Organizing Committee.
With the Paris Summer Olympics starting in July, from today, around 30 national art companies and cultural organizations from Korea will help promote traditional and modern Korean culture for the next 6 months. We hope Korean art and culture will flourish here in Paris, known as the City of Art.
Hosted by the Culture Ministry since 2022, the Korea season is dedicated to promoting Korean culture worldwide by organizing a wide range of programs in a selected country throughout the year. For this year, the first spotlight shines on breakdancing, as it's set to debut as an official Olympic sport in Paris 2024. After 70 minutes of individual performances, there's a 20-minute dance battle. 1 Million is famous for its catchy K-pop choreography and boasts of the highest number of subscribers for a dance channel on YouTube.
The Olympics is a global celebration, and performing here in the host city is exhilarating. We hope we can showcase K-culture and promote a positive global image through our performance.
I believe breakdancing was chosen as an official Olympic event because of its blend of technical skill and artistic expression, much like figure skating.
Pokemon Crew has been a heavyweight in the street dance scene for 2 decades, clinching numerous breakdancing championship titles.
In the past, this theater was reserved exclusively for the elite. Now, the fact that it hosts popular cultural things like hip-hop and K-pop sends a beautiful message. A space once accessible only to a select few is now open to all.
A complete sellout of tickets for over 1,000 seats, it's evidence of the rising popularity of K-culture in France, raising expectations for a successful Korea season this year.
K-pop has taken France by storm. It's not uncommon to hear young children sing Korean songs and follow the fashion of K-pop artists. K-culture has truly become a cultural phenomenon among the younger generation.
So with Thursday's opening performance, the 2024 Korea season has officially kicked off. The program will run across the French capital until October. 송유진, Arirang News, Paris.
Today's daytime heat was around 30 degrees Celsius. Summer-like heat will continue around the central inland areas as well as inland areas of Gyeongsang-Bukdo province. It's going to be a little hot in the middle of the day, but it's still going to be cool in the morning and evening. It's easy to catch a cold under such conditions. Please take care of your health. Tomorrow will be mostly sunny, but it will start to rain from Jeju Island in the evening. On Children's Day, which is Sunday, rain will expand across the country from morning to afternoon, starting with the western parts of the country. A lot of rain will be concentrated on Jeju Island, with up to 150 millimeters or more. In other areas, heavy rain is expected for spring rain. Tomorrow, Daejeon and Daegu will start off at 12 degrees Celsius. Highs will move up to 28 in Seoul, Daejeon, and Gyeongju. This rain will last from Sunday to Tuesday, with strong and loud rain expected for the southern coast and Jeju Island. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. Well, that brings an end to this newscast tonight. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a good night.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 웰컴. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?